Thanks, Susan. Juliet Kay is absent with notification. Zachary Kazaz is absent with notification. Susan Kent.
Here.
Ryder Kessler. Janine Kiley. Ivy Quanars. I don't see her, but we'll monitor. Patricia Laria. Michael Levine is absent with notification. Janet Liff. Benjamin Listman. Oh, excuse me, he's absent with notification. Ed Ma.
Yes, here.
Thanks, Ed. Matthew Metzger.
Zoom here. Thank you.
Thank you. Erica Olson. Brian Pape. Donna Raftery. Lois Rakoff. Bo Riccobono. Rocio Sands. Shirley Secunda. Eddie Siegel.
Here.
Frederica Siegel is absent with notification. Emma Smith, present. Dr. Shirley Smith is also absent with notification. Chenault Spence.
Here.
Thank you. Susan Wittenberg.
Here.
Thank you. Anthony Wong is absent with notification. Eugene Yu. Not here yet. Thanks, everyone.
And we have quorum.
We do have quorum.
Thank you. Before we start public session, I will invite our state senator, Brad Hoylman-Segal, to address us.
Excellent. Okay. How do you stump a state senator? Turn off the microphone. State Senator Brad Hoylman-Segal, very, very honored to be here this evening. Just a couple of updates. I know what's top of mind is the spree of murders that occurred earlier this week, and I hate to start with that, but it's what I'm hearing about a lot lately. Obviously, that individual, that suspect, caused enormous mayhem across our district. It started in Chelsea and of course went over to the east side. I'll tell you something that happened to me that's even more chilling. The previous Friday, I was at the West 4th subway station, and I've been, along with my elected colleagues, speaking to MTA and the DA's office and NYPD about the state of that station, which is deplorable, absolutely deplorable. So I've been corresponding through text message with the transit officer that from NYPD. He oversees it, and he encourages me to take photos and send them to him so that he can then respond appropriately. And we're trying to get some more sustained responses that I've listed in our board report after a couple of walkthroughs that I and my colleagues have undergone. But I'll tell you that I took a picture that morning on Friday as I dropped my daughter Sylvia off for the A train. She goes to school uptown, and then I saw the image of the suspect on Tuesday, and it was the same man. So he was at the West 4th subway station, it would appear, and could have been any of us, which is what is so frightening about random violence like that. And not directly in response, but related. It's a bill I've been working on for a number of months, actually all through the summer, along with my colleague Caroline Wexelbaum, is a bill that we're calling the HELP Act, because New York has a very narrow definition of who can ascertain whether an individual is of harm to themselves or potentially other people. And HELP stands for harnessing expertise of licensed professionals. There was really no other way to describe this bill because it's somewhat complicated. But the essence is right now, only medical doctors can grant that very lofty assessment as to whether a person should be directed toward treatment, in some cases involuntarily. We want to expand that, the number of people who can do it, just beyond medical doctors to psychiatric nurse practitioners who work in this field a lot, psychologists, and specifically licensed social workers. The idea being right now, as I've heard from providers, there's a shortage of physicians who can make this determination. And because of that, there's literally a backlog in some of our hospitals around this very topic. So we're hoping that by expanding the pool, which is not going to be without controversy, I might add, but by expanding the pool, we'll have more people to make the determination and hopefully create more psychiatric beds as a result, because the beds right now are essentially tied to the physician. So that's the goal of the Help Act. You can read more about it. It's going to be, it's going to be a fight in Albany, as is everything, but something has to be done with mentally distressed people on our streets and in our subways. I think everyone here can agree that we're just not doing enough. We have created more beds, but it's a slow rollout. We have committed $1 billion in last year's budget. But again, it's a slow rollout, but we need a quicker response, and I hope this is part of it. And as I mentioned, I did tour the West 4th subway station, which I visit literally 2 or 3 times a day. And there's a lot we can do there. For one thing, the station agent, which is a great thing to have at West 4th and other stations, but they're situated at the southern part of the station. They say they travel north several times a day, but you never see them. I don't know about you. I've never seen anyone there. And the platforms themselves are a little scary at times. Let's be candid. There's one bench as you come off of 6th Avenue, right off of 8th Street, that is like a real, it's a shooting gallery in the morning, I would say. And then the bus shelter on 6th Avenue between Waverly and 8th. I mean, my recommendation is, because it's just, I don't know what they can do, but it's nobody can use it because of, folks who are there taking drugs. I mean, it's just the way it is. So I think it has to come down, because I think it creates a very unsafe situation. The MTA and NYPD have given us a list of my concerns. They have my list, and we're going to be comparing notes moving forward. I'd also say that there's better lighting, and we need just whole capital improvement of that station, much like they did at 14th Street, which has improved it dramatically. Unfortunately, the West 4th station is not yet in the capital plan for refurbishment. So we have to fight for that. So I'm going to be continuing to do that. On to a little better news. I'm talking about the election, but not the national election. I was very honored to be reelected with, thank you, 105,089 votes, but who's counting? And mostly because we have this amazing district on the west side that has had the highest voter turnout of any Senate district in the entire state. So hats off to that. But we're going to have to do a lot in terms of, how we interact with the federal government. There's so many issues, infrastructure, Medicaid dollars for higher education and arts institutions, for libraries that are potentially on the chopping block. But I'll say that we did pass Proposal 1, as you know. So our rights and liberties are lock solid in our state constitution. There's no question about that now, thanks to the voters. Bills that I've been working on, like the Gender Expression Non-Discrimination Act to protect our transgender neighbors, bills to protect abortion access, bills to protect marriage equality and rights for folks with disabilities and older people. All of that now is in effect in our Constitution. But of course, we have the Supremacy Clause in our federal Constitution. So we're going to have to see how that works. And God knows we're not going to be, relying on the federal courts as much as we used to be able. But I do pledge to work with Tish James, our New York State Attorney General, and all of my colleagues in government to protect New Yorkers as much as we can moving forward. And speaking of federal dollars, that's, Penn Station and the renovation, which is in our Senate district. That's Route 9A, which I've been working on with Shirley and a number of people here over the years, including lowering the speed limit. But the state has rolled out a plan and are having listening sessions with stakeholders on that very important project. But that's going to be depending on some federal dollars. Gateway, the tunnel underneath the Hudson, has federal dollars attached to it. We're trying to get all that money dispersed before January, as you can imagine, but it'll be interesting to see, and it may be a struggle following that. And funding for our schools as well. Speaking of schools, I'm very happy that the governor is poised to sign our legislation to require private health insurance to cover neuropsychological exams for kids who are suspected of dyslexia or dysgraphia. They've told me that they're going to sign it next week, and then they tell me it's going to be next week. They are going to sign it. I can promise you, but it's just a matter of when they can arrange the governor's schedule. So thank you, Janine, and everyone here who's worked on this for so many years. And then in addition to that, tomorrow, a bill of mine is being signed by the governor. We passed 83 bills in the Senate, but one of these is, we call it the Seinfeld bill. And it's called the Seinfeld bill because there's a skit you may recall when Jerry is, in his apartment and he gets a call and he says, "Who is this?" And it's a telemarketer. And the telemarketer starts talking to him. And he's like, wait a minute. I'm busy right now. Can I call you back? And let me call you at your home number. And the telemarketer says, "I'd never give you my home number." And Jerry says, "Well, why are you calling mine?" And he hangs up on him. It's very funny. But I didn't do it justice. But we call it the Seinfeld bill because it's going to require telemarketers to identify themselves within 30 seconds of calling you. So New Jersey has this bill. Now New York is going to have it. And then finally, I'll tell you that we're working on getting sidewalk sheds removed. We created an award. Yes, thank you. Don't clap until they're removed. But we created an award called the Sheddies, kind of like the Tonys or the Grammys. And we've been working, I know, very clever, right? We've been working with the Department of Buildings, and we're literally going to award in our 47th Senate District the most derelict and annoying and decrepit sidewalk shed, and hopefully light a fire under both property owners and the Department of Buildings to get those sheds down. What was that? Oh, yeah, not literally. Sorry. That's probably already happening, but illegally. But we will do that and make certain that we can identify sheds. I think focusing on specific sheds is, in building community support around their removal is an effective strategy, as I've been told by the Department of Buildings. And I'll be working with our council member and assembly member in that regard too. That's my report, but I've got it written here and you can review it at your leisure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. A few questions, Rocio. I hope that.
Brad, thank you for coming here tonight and speaking to us. The subject that I was speaking to you about regarding crime in our neighborhood. You mentioned that there are plenty of individuals. That are walking in the street with mental problems. You mentioned that there are no beds for psychiatric patients. But there are also repeat offenders who are criminals and haven't been arrested and let go numerous times. But the no cash bail laws, which you supported, allow these individuals to be released numerous times. What will it take for you to reconsider this law, which is having a negative impact on the rest of society?
Thank you. No, I appreciate the question, Rocia. We've talked about this issue a lot. First of all, It's not no cash bail. That's just not the way, that's just not accurate. Bail involves cash payment. That's why it's called bail. There's no such thing as cashless bail. I don't know where that term came from. I think the New York Post, with all due respect. But here's the thing. You know who has cash? Rich people. So the reason we changed our bail laws is because the white collar criminal or the suspect in a murder who was wealthy had the money to get out of Rikers. The poor person, the defendant who had no resources, was stuck in Rikers not for weeks, not for months, but for years. Many of them died infamously. Khalif Browder died because he stole a backpack. He never even received a trial. He didn't receive even a hearing, a court hearing. And he was left to rot behind bars because he didn't have the money to pay bail. That's why we changed the system. Do I think that there need to be changes? Yes. Have we made those changes? Yes. Now repeat offenders are eligible for bail. Now, I can't control what the judge does. And I can't control what the DA asks for, but we have worked with the Office of Court Administration. As you may know, I'm chair of the Judiciary Committee, to make sure that judges are educated. So they have what's called a bench card, so they can see, because I admit that there were a number of changes over the years since we instituted a number of important criminal justice reforms. But I think the issue of mental illness is distinct from bail, because the vast majority of folks struggling with mental illness are not a danger to anyone. In fact, they're more likely to be a victim of violence than they are to harm other people or themselves. That said, we don't have enough beds, which is clear if you just walk up University Place or 6th Avenue and see the people who are really struggling on the streets, which is why I wrote this bill to create a wider pool, a deeper pool of providers who can make that determination. So as the case warrants, we will change the bail laws. One of the things we have done with the advice and consent of not just the Manhattan District Attorney, but all of our district attorneys in the city, is give them more resources for discovery, because we instituted discovery reforms as part of it. And we've made a number of crimes now bail eligible. And I think you may know that my bill expanded the range of charges that can be linked to hate crime offenses. So now we have a much wider net in that regard too. And the recidivist who steals from the drugstore repeatedly is now eligible for bail. That was a change we made a year ago. But again, if there are other changes that we need to make, we should do it after studying it, after looking at the data, and after, speaking to our colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any, we have some more, if you please share the microphone. Susanna and then Cormac.
Hi, Brad. I had a statement and a question. The
Yeah.
statement is regarding your health initiative and psychiatric beds. MSBI, as you know, Beth Israel is closing, and they do have a behavioral center that they opened, but that behavioral center does not accept psychiatric emergencies. And so once Beth Israel closes, the only place nearby that will is Bellevue. So it's a reason why I feel that MSBI, their feet should be held to the fire, and that if they want to deem the Rivington Street facility a substitute, it needs to become a CPAP. It needs to accept psychiatric emergencies. And then the question I had for you is whether the suspect in the stabbing case, do you have any idea whether he was in a program, a sort of ACT, which is a state program, or IMT? Do you know anything?
I have,
Yeah,
they haven't shared that information.
Yeah, I
with
haven't
us.
heard about it. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Would you give it to Cormac?
Hi, Brad.
Hi.
I was just wondering, a couple of years ago, as you know, the legislature passed a number of ambitious measures meant to improve our climate footprint in New York State. And I just wondered if you could give us an idea of what the risk exposure for those are in terms of federal funding and friendly federal regulators, given the change.
Well, I mean, I think New York is within its own lights to meet our goals under the Climate and Community Leadership Protection Act. That said, the governor has discussed herself about delaying, pausing, if you will, our our ability to meet those goals. So we have to continue to push that in Albany. I'm glad that she saw the light on congestion pricing before the Trump administration came into office. And I think what she did by lowering the toll by 40%, is reasonable. It still doesn't account for some of our concerns as people who live in the district, which is why are we being charged when we live here? And I think that's an ongoing discussion, but I do think that the money that we get from congestion pricing, the 15 billion, first, we wouldn't have been able to, well, we would have had to tax us to make up that difference come January. So I'm glad that we don't have to do that. And secondly, there's so many projects, including ADA access for so many of our 23 subway stations are going to be getting elevators as a result of the $15 billion. Very important. Thank you. And some of it, the MTA didn't do willingly, right? We know that a number of members of our community had to take them to court. But I think I am concerned as to what the Trump administration is going to try to do to mess with congestion pricing. And if they do, we should definitely be loud and clear that this is a regional problem. Congestion costs the economy $20 billion a year. The average amount of time a driver spends in their car in New York City is 100 hours a year. And then I wrote a report, I don't know if you saw it, with Gridlock Sam Schwartz about how emergency response times have slowed to a crawl in New York City, the lowest numbers that we've had since these statistics were collected. I think it's a 73% increase in FDNY response times. And a large part of that can be attributed to congestion, as well as we hear a lot of complaints about the noise from sirens. If we had clearer streets, we'd probably have less siren noise.
Okay, Amy, and then I'll work way back. These questions are meant for members of the board only. And then
But I'm
Will
happy to talk to anyone after.
But yeah, offline, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it on now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for bringing up Prop 1 and the supremacy clause. I'm just wondering if you have any insight into whether President Biden is going to publish the federal ERA amendment before he leaves office so that we do have those guarantees. I've been starting to work on, getting the word out about that and getting people to, so have you heard anything?
I haven't. I've spoken to Senator Gillibrand about it, and she's been advocating for that because apparently all it takes is the publication by a nonpartisan bureaucrat who leads the office in the United States Congress.
Correct.
Why hasn't it happened? It's bewildering.
Has the New York State Democratic Coalition thought of pressuring, doing something about this?
Certainly Senator Gillibrand has been leading us on that, but I think it's a really good question. Let me circle back to see what our federal representatives are doing in that regard. But she's been vocal and out front on it.
And I think we need a more people doing it, but thank you so
I
much.
agree. Thank you.
Please pass the microphone back. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Just a quick question on the HELP Act, and I think it's great that you're tackling some of the nuance because often the devil is in the details with these things. I'm curious what sort of the time frame and process actually is. So if you expand the pool of people who can make, for instance, a recommendation for involuntary commitment, how does that actually work? I mean, if you're on the street and you see someone that you feel obviously needs care, do you call someone and then they can call someone right away to make that decision? Like, is it a more delayed process? I mean, I think the quicker you can have someone come and do that, obviously the better.
Well, you
So
know,
I'm curious how that'll work.
yeah,
specifically.
certainly, organizations that have people on the ground can assist with that. Most of those referrals, if you will, are made by NYPD. And NYPD makes the referral to regarding the patient then goes to the hospital, and that's where at the moment, psychiatrist makes that determination. But it is possible to envision, having, organizations that are qualified to assist with that on the ground. I know I've heard that from the director of the Times Square bid, but right now it's an NYPD action.
Okay. Yeah, because you can imagine having professionals walk and make the rounds.
Yeah.
They would probably very quickly be able to determine people that need to be committed, right?
Yeah, and that also has a little bit of an Orwellian feel to it, but so we want to be, this is not something I have proposed lightly because, we're talking about the somebody's personal agency, which we should do everything we can to safeguard. That said, people desperately need help and they're not getting it.
Thank you. I see no more
Thank you.
hands for questions, so
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so
Happy
much.
Thanksgiving.
I will now turn the floor over to our first Vice Chair, Valerie De La Rosa, for public session.
Thank you. So I'm going to start with, in the room, we're going to go with non-agenda items first, and then we will go to agenda items. So first I have Daniel Sutton. Excuse me? Oh, okay. Then next, Lois Rakoff. Speakers will have 2 minutes.
Yes, of course. This is good news. This is a free event on December 8th at 4 p.m. It's the Washington Square Music Festival Winter Concert. And we are I'm not playing, but it's Debussy, Clara Schumann, Mahler. It's all free. And it will be it's not in our community board, but it's at the St. Mark's Church in the Bowery, which is 131 East 10th Street at 2nd Avenue. But this is just the venue, and it's not a religious music. And it's free, and bring your friends and your relatives, and you don't have to make a reservation. Just walk in and have a very good time. And I have flyers. I put flyers out there on the public table, and I will give flyers to the desk.
Great, thank you. Next we have Ryder Kessler. I've called on you, so please go.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to talk briefly about the results of the presidential election. I wasn't here last month. I was in Wilmington working for the campaign, and we put up a good fight, but it did not go the way we wanted. I know a lot of folks here probably share my anxieties about mass deportation and abortion bans and attacks on trans kids and attacks on democracy. And I wanted to talk about the nexus between that and what we do here at the community board, especially because we saw the biggest swings towards Trump in blue states and cities like New York, much bigger than the swings in the battlegrounds where the campaign was happening. So Democrats had their worst showing in the state since 1988, and Trump more than or almost doubled his margin over the course of 2016 to 2024. And the question is, why is that? And I think a lot of voters in New York are feeling like their problems are not being addressed. They have cost of living problems, they have quality of life problems, rents are going up 7 times faster than wages, 146,000 kids were housing insecure in the 2022-2023 school year. There are folks, getting murdered on the street. People see a lot of vulnerability on the street. And not only are voters upset, and that's bad for Democrats, but also New York State is on track to lose 3 electoral college votes after the next census, which will make the blue wall insufficient for Democrats to win elections at the presidential level. So we have to think about, why is New York losing population? We're on track to lose 13% of our population over the next 25 years. And if, we pass Prop 1, which is great, but New York is going to be a haven only if people can actually afford to be here and benefit from those protections. So we can do stuff here to address housing costs, to address social disorder. We can have abundant homes so everyone can afford to live here and costs are lower. We can have abundant shelter, safe haven, stabilization beds to get folks off the street. And so I would really urge us, if we care about democracy and the Democratic Party brand and all the things that we stand for as progressives, to think about what we can do here to advance those values. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Daniel Sutton. Excuse me. Can you use the microphone, please?
I just want to point out, I think that those are all important topics, but how we frame them here is really important because we're not allowed to use this stage for politics. And it is prohibited, I think, for us at these meetings to do it that way. So
I appreciate that. He is
consider
in.
how we bring these discussions forward.
Okay. It is true. We as a board are not supposed to engage in political debate. I'm going to treat that as he's speaking as a member of the public. He spoke during public session, but okay. Well. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next online, we have Darlene Lutz. Okay, well, I've called on Darlene now at this point. So Daniel, you should have just come up here while you were waiting. So if we can go to Darlene Lutz, then we'll finish with Daniel. Thank you. There is no next person online.
Good evening. It's Darlene Lutz. I hope I'm connected.
You have 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Darlene, can you speak up a little bit?
Sorry. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for the time to hear my opinion on Traffic and Transportation Committee, Res 1, requesting extension of the protected bike lane on Varick Street from Houston to Canal Streets. My name is Darlene Lutz. I've lived on Varick Street between Watts and Grant since 1980. My block-long building is home to more than 120 human beings, including children and seniors like me. It is the only residential building along the stretch between Houston and Canal on the east side. Our only entrance to our building is in the middle of the block. The proposed protected bike lane with an adjacent floating parking island would obliterate the residents' safety to access to our homes. It would require exiting a vehicle in the through lane traffic, crossing the parking lane and the bike lane to reach the sidewalk. I'm afraid to admit I laughed out loud reading this resolution. It's preposterous this proposed bike lane won't affect the Holland Tunnel traffic. Every traffic agent will tell you bikes and bike lanes have brought massive and increased chaos and aggression to our streets. We all see and we all know that the tiny minority of bike users have completely disregarded the existing rules and regulation. Riding a bike is a choice. Being a pedestrian, whom aren't given them a mention in this resolution, is not a choice. Lastly, I found the mention of the Hudson Square bid having jurisdiction in my neighborhood in this resolution particularly offensive. NGOs are not the boss of the public realm. It is as though this resolution was written by lobbyists, which it appears it was. It certainly wasn't based on the vague idea brought to this committee a couple of weeks ago by a guy who whined for his safety while passing through this community. I need my safety in the community I've lived and worked in for 45 years. I've heard numerous times at these meetings, the community board is the voice of the residential community. With that, I'll wish you all a delicious Thanksgiving and good evening. Thank you.
Darlene, thank you so much. Next, we have Daniel Sutton. You can come up to the front. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. I also support extending the bike lane on Varick Street from Houston Street to Canal Street. Bike lanes are safer for everybody, so that would improve the safety of the area. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Now, is there anyone who signed up to speak for the public session either in the room or on Zoom that I did not call on or that would wish to speak during our public session? Seeing no hands in the room, and are there any hands online? Then I will close the public session and hand this back over to our chair, Susan Kent.
Thank you, Valerie. Okay, next item is adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now we will turn to reports from our elected officials and okay. Will be taken care of. Thank you, Mar. Okay, so next we have reports from our elected officials representatives. I did promise Peter that he could go first. So, and after that, you folks just line up and first come, first serve. And I just remind 2 minutes, please. And I encourage you to talk about what is not in your reports, which we distribute to our members. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Peter Safe from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. I want to spend my time here tonight updating members of CB2. There's been a lot of concern about quality life activity in and around the Washington Square Park activity. So a couple weeks ago in this room, we convened a breakfast meeting with community leaders to discuss plans, brainstorm ideas. And coming out of that meeting, with the cooperation of the mayor's office, in particular, the deputy mayor for public safety, Chauncey Parker, they are convening an interagency hub. They have chosen 3 co-chairs, which are members from this community. They're Brian Maloney, the head of the West 4th Street Block Association, Vanessa Warren, head of the Washington Place Block Association, and Scott Hobbs, the executive director of the Village Alliance. These 3 co-chairs will be working and coordinating on a regular basis in closed meetings with city agencies with the support of the mayor's office. If you were with us last night at the 6th Precinct Community Council, we made these same announcements. They are working on this. Horace Norville from the deputy mayor's office was there to address that meeting, and they will give further updates, and we hope that this will be a solution focus hub that can bring some relief or perceptive relief to your community, because you always hear about the index dropping crimes, but you're still concerned, and you have concerns out there, rightfully so. So these are things that we're part of and trying to help build a more safer community for you. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, Rocio.
Thank you for coming and speaking to us today. I always find it very interesting that somehow or other the DA's office is not aware of what's really happening on our streets. I'm going to give you a, for instance.
Rocio, I do need a question.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
there's a question.
Okay,
I need to set up my question.
Okay.
please. My question is going to follow after I make the comment. I was just telling Senator Brad Hoylman that a block, Washington Place between 6th and 7th Avenue, the residents have gotten together to hire a security guard because things are so bad on that block that everybody's contributing $100 per building so they can have security from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. every day. So what is Alvin Bragg going to do about the rising crime? And it's not perceived, it's actual. The numbers they say have gone down. If you don't report crimes, yes, the numbers look like they come down, but there's a real problem in our neighborhood. What are they really going to do to resolve this crime?
Well, the answer is just what I just said on this. Our office has continued to prosecute serious crimes on these matters when it's appropriate for traditional prosecution, we will. But when it comes to cases where it's substance abuse, mental health issues, that can't be prosecuted, all right? So what our office is also contributing to treatment, assisting with treatment, supporting interagency hubs like we just described. So that's the answer. That's what we're doing. When traditional prosecution is possible, we will prosecute, and we have not stopped prosecuting.
So illegally drug use is not a crime.
It's a nuance, and we'd be happy if you want, we can explain further because it's going to take longer than this 2 minutes or even this session over here. But we are always open, and let's talk on the side, and I'd be happy to bring further experts from our office to break it down for you.
thank you,
Thank
Peter.
you.
Any other questions for Peter? Oh, yes, Susanna.
I just wanted to comment and that I was at the community council meeting and I've spoken to your office about this. And I think that this is a really positive development. I'm very happy that the city and that the mayor's office has recognized that this neighborhood needs attention.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay. Next.
Everybody. Sorry, I have to head out soon. Rain's taking up and we have another meeting after this. But my name is Sebastian. I am the Constituent Affairs liaison from Assemblymember Grace Lee's office. So for most of you, our office doesn't necessarily represent you, but if you live between Bowery and Broadway below Houston Street, we're your assembly member. Just had a quick few report backs before of anything that might be interesting, as well as if you actually live in that area. So first, just what we've been doing in the last month or two since you guys have seen us. Our office is, obviously engaged in a lot of the Halloween fun, especially along Washington Square, on the West 4th, little Halloween parade. We've also been distributing a lot of turkey drives. I'm happy to say that I think we will be distributing almost 3,000 turkeys, chickens, and perniles, especially in our district, in a lot of the NYCHA buildings. And especially if you live in our district and you are eligible to have one, we're having a turkey drive on Thursday with Vision Urbana in the Lower East Side. So if you are, one of our constituents and signed up to our emailing list, I highly encourage you to, sign up for a turkey because, we have a lot of extra supplies, of course, and we're also trying to make sure that families are warm, healthy, and safe leading up to Thanksgiving, of course. As for our legislative agenda, we have a couple of things mainly related to NYCHA as well as AAPI justice. However, one of the main things that actually Senator Hoylman Segal did mention was that we are currently trying to, I guess, really implement our Stop Hiding Hate Act that he actually mentioned earlier tonight, which is really just holding social media companies accountable, especially when they promote disinformation, hate speech, misinformation, et cetera, et cetera. And also just joining in a lot of other elected officials, 23, in order to essentially push for the New York City Department of Education to give better access to Omni cards for students, especially in Title I schools. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me, especially because, there's not a lot of overlap between the districts and the community board, but if there is, I'm happy to take them. If not, thank
If
you so
not,
much.
any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Sit. Ray, anyone want to go next? Anyone of you? No takers? Go ahead.
Hi, Roy Reed. Oh, damn. Okay. Hi, Roy Reed with Assemblymember Deborah Glick's office. It's raining today, so that's a good thing. And that's the first time that I'm gonna ever say that because I hate the rain. But we have been going through a drought, and that's actually one of the points in our report that we are now elevated to a drought warning in New York City. So there is a link in our report to DEP's guidelines on how to conserve water. We think that's a very important thing. We think the city should be doing a little bit more on that front. Deborah was hosted a hearing today on the impacts of what are called forever chemicals. They have a very technical name, PFSAs. They're found in tons of things like cosmetics and stuff like that. The state has, through the decades, sort of implemented regulations on these chemicals, but they haven't paid a lot of attention on how these chemicals filter down into the environment. So this hearing today was supposed to hear from industry experts about how that is affecting our environment, like rain, flood water, storm water, and surface ground contamination. So that happened today. There's a link to that as well if you want to look at the video. And one thing that we wanted to also bring attention to is that the Commissioner of DOT, Dennis Rodriguez, is doing a forum the 25th of is it? Yeah, November 25th, 6:30, El Museo del Barrio. Hope I said that right. Because I am Spanish, so I hope I said that right. It's a Fifth Avenue. Yeah. So welcome to come. That's gonna be a cool forum where you can express your concerns about transportation. And thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have questions.
Questions? Yeah.
Please. Start.
I should have asked the senator this question, but I'm going to ask you as the liaison for Deborah Glick.
Yeah, that's the important answer.
Fluoride in water, the controversy that is going on in our drinking water. Yes, fluoride, no fluoride. Percentage wise, do you know anything about this and what's happening?
I do not have any information or statistics about fluoride in our water. I do know about it, but I mean, I couldn't tell you more on an expert level. So I'm sorry that I don't have it. But if you do write me an email, I'll try to get you some information from our legislative director.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ray.
Hello, my name is Piani Rodriguez, and I'm from the office of Councilmember Carolina Rivera. I'll try to keep it brief. So the city council passed the Fair Act, in which basically tenants will no longer be responsible for paying broker fees. And some highlights of our report this month is that Councilmember Rivera called on Governor Hochul to sign the Local Input in Community Healthcare Act to protect access to healthcare. The city council also had an oversight hearing examining ambulance response time, and Carolina Rivera highlighted, there we go. And Carolina Rivera highlighted that hospital turnout times have been increasing and that ambulance response time has gone from 34 minutes to 41 minutes, resulting in crowded emergency room, which is something that obviously we don't want. And for the holidays, we are having multiple meal distributions, turkey distributions. So if anybody you know or you yourself are in need of an emergency meal, please feel free to reach out to us. I can be reached at 212-677-1077, and our email is district2@council.nyc.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Rocio.
You briefly spoke about the Fair Act regarding who pays the broker fees. So right now, it used to be, or it is still, that the person who hires the broker gets to pay. So property owners list their apartments for rent with a broker.
Mhm.
Are they aware what the consequences of putting on the fee on the landlord or the property owner or the housing provider, that the people that they're trying to protect are not going to be protected, which are the tenants, because property owners will raise the rents as much as they can so that it covers the fee for the broker? Are they aware of that?
Well, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, I'm not our legislative person, so I'm more than happy to connect you with our legislative director.
Food for thought for everyone.
Thank you, Rocio. Any other questions? Thank you, Biani.
Everyone, my name is Sharif. I'm going to adjust this real quick. Sorry. I'm Sharif Krapti. I'm a community affairs liaison for State Senator Brian Kavanaugh. I just wanted to say, as Senator Hoyleman Siegel mentioned earlier, the congestion pricing pause was lifted on November 14th. The governor held a press conference announcing what the new rates are going to be. It's a lower $9 toll during peak hours. Off peak rate is $2.25, and then 40% decreases across the board. So all the information about that is online, and you can always talk to our office if you need more information about that as details are coming out. And of course, we're happy to see this. Even with the $9 toll, we're happy to see that the governor, is making that choice to fund our transit system and reduce congestion in the city. Also, there's some mention about MSBI earlier. City Council held a press rally a couple weeks ago that was demanding a deeper analysis of how proposed hospital closures would impact communities, better regional planning, and increased community engagement requirements. So Senator Kavanaugh's recently co-sponsored legislation. It's Senate Bill 8843A, along with Senate Chair Gustavo Rivera, Senator Kristen Gonzalez, and Assemblymember Simon, that would require much greater oversight, engagement, and public information before any action is taken to close a hospital or reduce services. Also say too, just some community announcements. Flu shot clinic we held today at Ryan Health's Nina's Lower East Side location. I was there. If you haven't gotten your flu shot already, go and do that. There's also COVID boosters available. And then we also have an upcoming annual turkey drive in the 74th Assembly District. And that's going to be at the Lower East Side Center. That's going to be November 25th, giving away over 1,000 turkeys, hundreds of chickens, and 200 kernels to families in the 74th Assembly District. And then just last thing is we wanted to spotlight the National Marrow Donor Program. So they're doing some incredible work to get bone marrow donors. It's a really important program because there's a desperate need for donors. It doesn't do you any harm. Obviously, there's kind of some fear about the pain, but the pain is temporary. It's not going to be extreme. And there's especially a need to diversify the donor pool because it does matter, the donor's genetics in terms of making those donations to folks that are on the list. So yeah, those are all my announcements. Thank you.
Okay, questions? Okay, Rocio.
I'm wondering if you are familiar with the congestion pricing, everything about congestion pricing, including whether people who are compromised and cannot take public transportation to doctor's appointments. Sometimes these doctor's appointments are every day for 5 days, for 5 weeks, and or weekly, and they cannot afford. Are there going to be any exemptions for people that are that cannot afford to pay the $9, even though they live in the district?
Yeah, it's a good question. I am not familiar exactly with all the details, and I believe some details are still being worked out from the governor's office and the MTA. So I'm happy to be in touch. I think I'll give you my card if you want to send me an email, or I can take your email down and get back to you. Again, I don't know if it's set in stone yet, but I'm happy to look into it.
I think it's to get back to everyone, not to me, because many people have this concern.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think it's still, details are still coming out. The announcement was just earlier last week. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry. On Zoom. Oh, okay, great. I have online, Robin, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, good evening, everybody. I'll speak quickly because I have a few
We
things to
cannot hear
say.
you clearly.
Oh, all right. How's that? Better?
Better.
Okay. I wanted to mention, somebody had talked about what is the city doing with regard to the drought? Well, it rained today, which won't solve the drought, but we're very happy to have seen rain. But the mayor elevated the drought level warning such that work on the Delaware aqueduct repair has been delayed. So it will allow the city to use other reservoirs in the interim during this period. New York City employees, agencies, as well as the public have been asked to do what they can to conserve. I wanted to mention the time of year, Christmas and holidays. There is available, it's a national service, but we have it here in New York, 988. I don't know if people in the meeting are familiar with it, but it's kind of a suicide and crisis lifeline service. It's free, it's confidential. And if you're having a crisis or a family member is having a crisis, you can call 988 and speak to a qualified and trained professional to get some support. And I encourage anybody to give it a try. With regard to Peter T. and talking about Washington Square Park and the village issue at last night's meeting, the mayor's office has been very involved in trying to address this issue. We had a walkthrough with the mayor recently with the community council, the precinct council, identifying certain pockets of issue and addressing the issues through the mayor's office of public safety. The deputy mayor of public safety will be leading this effort. I will be working with them. I'm in community affairs, and the DA's office has also played a role in trying to do what they can to improve the situation. So stay tuned. We're excited about the effort, and we really hope that we can move the ball forward in this, because there are a lot of issues, public safety, quality of life, and so forth. And we want to be responsive to people who are living in the community. And thank you to the person who talked about the private security on Washington Place. Let's hope that that will not need to be sustained. Other than that, I'm happy to take questions. I don't know how.
Okay,
much time-
Susanna has a question.
Hello.
Use that.
Hi, Robin. Susanna Aaron of the Human Services Committee. I just really wanted to make
Hi.
a statement, which is to thank the mayor for the initiative, for the interagency effort. We appreciate it. We notice it. It means a lot to us, and we have very high hopes to have a direct response for the concerns of the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank
Thank
you.
you. Any other-
I'm
okay,
happy to have you
Lois?
reach out to me.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If anybody wants to reach out to me directly, Mark can certainly provide my contact information if you don't have it, but it's rforst@cityhall.nyc.gov. Feel free to reach out. Any suggestions, thoughts, we're happy to hear from you. I'm happy to hear from you, so thank you.
One more, we have another question from Lois.
Yes. Hi, Robin. Could
Hi,
you?
Lois, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Long
Today.
time.
Yeah. Can you reveal one or two or three findings that the mayor and his team found in Washington Square Park?
Uh, I don't know that there are any surprise findings. I think everybody knows, has a good sense of what the problems are. We know that there are problems with unhoused individuals. We know there are problems with drugs. We know there are problems with drug sales. We know there are problems with homelessness and mental illness. Those are all the issues that we are going to work to help resolve through the use of the city agencies that are responsible in those areas. And under a series of initiatives, one of which is every block counts and another one, every park counts, to try to bring the supports to the fore and try to provide the services so that we can try to address these problems. It's not, Washington Square Park and the village don't have a corner on this market, unfortunately. It's really a problem that has grown throughout the city. But we are committed to working with the mayor's public safety office and use the resources of the mayor's office to try to address these social issues, mental health issues, homelessness issues in a very concentrated way. And input from the community is important. I've been getting lots of emails from many of you over the last several weeks. And if there's something that comes to mind, please let us know. We'll be out there. There'll be teams of people out there, but you're the closest because you live here, and we welcome comments or suggestions that you might have.
I was curious why the mayor did a walkthrough at 4 p.m. through the park when it is the calmest, sweetest time of the day in the park.
I think that was actually a time that had been suggested to us for the mayor because the end of the day and the activities that might be revving up. I guess there are different times through the day and different days are different. But rest assured that there is other staff through the park at different times of day. And I am sure that over time, all, the major issues will have been revealed to the people, if not already, what's happening.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Robin.
Welcome. Yeah.
Okay, no more, I see no more hands for, oh, I'm sorry, Chenault. Please go ahead. Thank you. You're muted, Chenault.
I would really like to know how we're just now hearing we are going to look after the problem. And the mayor has just had a walkthrough for a problem that we've known existed for years and years and years.
I can't speak to administrations prior to this one. I think we've seen a shift in the number of issues that we see in your neighborhood. And it is getting the attention of the mayor to focus resources to try to address the problems specific to the area. Should it have been done 5 years ago? Maybe, but we're here now. There are problems that are here now, and it seems like a very good time to bring the resources of the mayor and the mayor's office to bear to try to address these issues, both criminal and quality of life.
Thank you, Robin.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to go next to Nicole, if you'd like to go next.
Hi, Susan. Thank you, everybody. I'm Nicole Barth. I'm the West Village Liaison to Councilmember Eric Botcher. I just have a couple things today. I just wanted to let you know that the City Council passed Intro 663, which was a bill that Eric introduced, empowering the Department of Transportation to better regulate the design, maintenance, and siting of sidewalk news racks. So basically, the Department of Transportation will develop standards regarding the manner in which the racks and boxes can be placed or installed. And it also gives the Department of Transportation the ability to create design standards regarding the size, shape, and appearance of the news racks. They also will require the news rack owners to affix their contact information in a readily visible location on the front of the side of the news rack. And that way, everyone knows who's responsible for it and who to contact if there's a problem with it. We have had a number, as we all know, citywide curbside composting is now happening. We've had 3 different curbside composting sessions with the Lower East Side Ecology Center and also DSNY. We had one in the West Village, one in Hell's Kitchen, one in Chelsea. Very successful. I wanted to let everyone know we have, I would show you one, but I'm at home. We have some compost countertop composting bins in our office. If you are interested in getting one of those, give me a call tomorrow. I will put my number in the chat or next week. Also wanted to let everybody know that we were speaking of scaffolding with State Senator Hoylman Siegel. Eric also has introduced 3 bills with other council members. And the 3 bills, one would create a penalty for property owners who fail to apply for corresponding work permits within 6 months of installing the sidewalk shed. The next bill would increase the required level of lighting under the sidewalk shed to 90 lumens per watt or greater. And the last one would establish heightened design standards for scaffolding in public parks and playgrounds. I wanted to let everybody know that we are having our next installation of the policy perspectives on December 3rd from 5 to 6. Richard Aborn, who is the president of the Citizens Crime Commission in New York City, a partner in the law firm of Constantine Cannon, and a managing director of Constantine Aborn Advisory Services, will be having a policy talk with Eric for an hour on that evening. Lastly, well, I'm going to attach the November newsletter, but the October newsletter, but our November one will be coming out shortly. And just wanted everyone to keep an eye on their email. Our toy drive, which benefits the kids that come to, we bring it to Holy Apostles. We set up this wonderful toy area and the toys are given out to local children. That is happening again this year. Keep an eye out for our news because we just love as many donations of toys you guys can provide for us. And I think that's it for me today. Sorry if I went over. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nicole. Do I have questions? Rocio and anyone else?
Good evening. Thank you for presenting today. So my question, tonight's topic for me is crime. So I've been asking everyone, what are we going to do about this crime? So I would like to ask you to have Mr. Butcher, council member, talk about what are we doing to lower the crime in our neighborhood? Washington Square Park is a disaster. All the streets around it are a disaster. Are they going to do something? Are they going to give the police more ability to make arrests, and arrests that can actually go to a conviction, and conviction that can go to jail time? What are they doing?
Well, Rocio, I can touch base on that and kind of speak once again to the interagency task force they're putting together. In the middle of July, like I think it was July 18th, the council members sent a letter to the mayor calling what the West Village and places on 8th Avenue are going through in our district as a humanitarian crisis. Also, I know that Robin spoke on this. The new head of the 6th Precinct Community Council had been working with Robin for a very long time to have the mayor come and do a tour of the neighborhood. And he was supposed to come a little earlier. Then we had the person who decided to drill through the tunnel and their water was coming in the tunnel. So he had to go to that day, but he did come back true to his word. And he did a walkthrough with the Steve Grande, who's the head of the community council at the 6th, and with the commanding officer and with the number of electeds. And they walked around the park. I believe also, I know you asked about who chose that time. One, I think it was the time that the mayor had, and also was a time suggested by the person who was doing the walkthrough. But we went through the park, we went to the surrounding areas, went over 6th Avenue. So we were in both Council District 2, Council District 3. The mayor really took in everything that the electeds and the council and the police were saying. And no less than 2 weeks later, we were contacted by Alvin Bragg from the DA's office. There was a big meeting again over at NYU, and it was there that he announced that this interagency group was going to be formed. Very quickly afterwards, the 3 co-chairs from the community were picked. And they already have met, and the purpose is to come up with tangible items that they can work with multiple agencies in the neighborhood. I was going to say something else, and now I'm forgetting. It'll come back to me. I apologize, but I think there's a number of different groups that have been working so hard together to try to achieve some attention being focused on Washington Square Park and the outside agencies. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. Robin will correct me if I'm wrong. But also, I wanted to say, as far as the state make up a lot of the policy around the law around how the DA can prosecute. And so that has to be thought of, and also recognize that there are judges, and lots of times, even if the police, which we just got 8 new officers actually at the 6th Precinct, if Commander Zykel is really pressing with the DA to try to make a bailable offense, the DA can really make its case and sometimes the judges will still say no. So there's so many different moving parts in this, but I think everyone's trying to work together as much as they can. Sorry for a very long answer.
Question.
Can I jump in for a second, Susan?
Okay, but
Yeah.
we are
Quick.
really running long already.
Nicole,
I'm sorry.
thanks
You
very
did
much.
ask a question, and I do need to get to Connor.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
I'm sorry,
Oh, okay.
Robin,
You want me not
I'm
to-
sorry, you had a response to that.
Yes, I wanted to thank Nicole and reinforce what she said in terms of the precinct council really taking a very important lead role in bringing these matters to our attention. And the route that we traveled, the time notwithstanding, was selected by the neighborhood. We deferred to the council and the local precinct to identify the areas that the mayor should see. And with that, I will be quiet. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Connor. Yes.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Connor from Councilmember Christopher Marte's office. I'll try to be fast. I say that every time. So in terms of legislation, I'm just going to re-up our Medicare bill, which will protect the healthcare of municipal retirees by not forcing them onto the Medicare Advantage plan. There are 250,000 city retirees, and this will affect all future retirees who are currently on traditional Medicare. It's sort of proven that traditional Medicare has a lot of advantages to, ironically, Medicare Advantage. Aetna, the company that is administering the city's plan, has been found to use AI to deny prior authorization requests to save the company money. Our bill will protect these hundreds of thousands of retirees who were promised traditional Medicare indefinitely in their retirement. And it'll also make sure that the city is not spending billions of dollars to help corporate greed and expense of our seniors' health. We also were one of the first co-sponsors of the FAIR Act, previously mentioned, to prevent landlords from charging up to 15% of annual rent to tenants. I think just to speak to some of the concern about that act, currently, you know, well, many other cities around the country and around the world have already made this decision. It's also currently the status is, you know, regardless of the situation, whether a broker was hired by a landlord or by a tenant, or if there was even a broker involved at all, a landlord can charge a tenant up to 15% of rent. This happened to me. It like permanently damaged my bank account. And, you know, without this, we'll see, I think it's very hard to predict that landlords will increase rent by 15% annually, understanding that demand can't meet that. Also, obviously, all rent stabilized housing stock will not be able to adjust their rent accordingly because they're on a fixed increase every year. So we see this as a huge win. Also, the council member joined the LGBTQ caucus in the council this week for a press conference on a package of bills, including ours, Intro 775, which would require training for senior service providers on gender identity and sexual orientation, and help to tackle discrimination, gender and sexual orientation based discrimination in those senior centers. For budget, it's just participatory budgeting. We are submitting our ideas, the ideas that were received by our constituents or submitted by our constituents to the agencies for review. We know, and then in terms of land use, City of Yes for Housing Opportunity was voted at subcommittee and committee levels today and passed. It's expected to be heard at the full council meeting on December 5th. Councilmember Marte is continuing to advocate for changes and commitments, prioritizing preservation and new construction of affordable housing. We've seen movement on some of our asks, and so we're hoping to see more movement, but there's still grave concern around potential speculation and displacement coming from this plan. And then just finally on illegal vending, this is just something that's specific to CB2, especially around Broadway, West Broadway, Canal Street. We've been hearing a lot about it, and we've been working on it basically since we started office, trying to coordinate with the local precincts in those areas to try to address this issue. We know that it's been growing, and we're happy that community members have been staying on top of it and flagging it for the precincts and the Soho bid, as well as our office. And we're supportive of an increase in the local bids budget to address this issue, and we're looking forward to them hiring a dedicated staff person just for vending enforcement, and so we don't have to immediately escalate the issue to the police when a lot of times it can be handled face to face.
Thank you.
So that's it.
Okay. I have, Rocio has a question and, okay.
Thank you so much. My question to you is, did you know that brokers' fees are negotiable? That there is no such a mandate that you have to pay 15% or anything? You deal with whoever you want to, and you don't have to pay 15, you can negotiate. Did you know that?
I can speak from personal experience. Like, I was not granted the opportunity to negotiate my broker's fee. I found the apartment online. There was no broker, and I paid thousands of dollars for my apartment. And so I think a lot of people are subject to scare tactics in the landlord negotiation process. And so I think this is a way to sort of clean slate it, and kind of make sure that people don't fall subject to those abuses.
Thank you, Connor. I see no other questions, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Andrew?
Good evening, everybody. Andrew here from the Manhattan Borough President's Office. 4 quick things I want to mention. One, the Manhattan Borough President's Office and the NYC Parks Department is, along with all 12 Manhattan community boards, we're hosting a public forum on how best to revitalize our city parks on Monday, November 25th at 6:30 p.m. It's going to be at the Chelsea Recreation Center. I emailed all of you all individually, including the Susan, the chair, and Mark, the district manager. So we hope to see you there on Monday. Secondly, we're hosting an event for the veterans called That's Take the Met on December 4th, a Wednesday, from 1 to 4 p.m. We encourage all veterans, their families, their friends to come on out and enjoy this outing at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, December 4th, 1 to 4 p.m. And to RSVP, there's a link, or you can email me, just let me know. And then we released a senior resource guide. I mentioned this at the last meeting. It's online. We're going to print out palm cards. This guide contains information on senior centers, healthcare, where you get like free food and whatnot. And then lastly, we have a fellowship for our young leaders, our high school seniors, juniors and seniors. The deadline to apply is Sunday, December 1st. So if you know any high school seniors, juniors and seniors who want to apply for a fellowship with our office, please let me know. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions? Okay, that's great. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other reps online that anyone I missed? Okay, so that's the end of our reports. Next, a few things, in my report. Today was Borough Board. The MTA, we had a presentation on the MTA's capital plan. Because of the reinstatement of congestion pricing, now the budget is available for 2025 for their planned work. I would encourage everyone, if they're interested, to look at the recording. It was a very detailed presentation focusing on a variety of things like maintenance, new cars, replacing and upgrading of signals, and lots of interesting technical stuff. If you go to the MTA's website, mta.info/capital plan will take you to it. Andrew mentioned the leadership program and the resource guide. So, but the mayor is looking for volunteers for the food giveaway. If people are interested in volunteering to package and distribute food packages at various, there'll be various distributions throughout the city. I will put you in contact if you so desire. Let's see, I do not need to repeat about the meeting on public safety. On the 12th, the Hudson River Park Advisory Council met and had a presentation by Related on the development of the remainder of Hudson Yards. This is the portion that is still does not with the exposed rail yards, and the plan is to cover it, and there's development, including a proposal for a high-end casino. While this is not in our district, the effect on both the park and the High Line is pretty clear. So again, if you are interested in some more of these details, the recording of the meeting will provide you with that. I'm very happy to announce that the Fund for the City of New York has assigned us a new fellow for the next for the spring. Her name is Lauren. Oh, thank you. And I want to thank particularly Arturo for proposing this particular project, and he will be our point person, and looking forward to what we can learn. I'm just about to find where I wrote it down. This is a question about land use in CB2, how it has changed over the last 20 years, particularly in terms of residential, commercial, and mixed-use developments, trends in housing, and how trends have been influenced by factors such as commercialization of housing stock, development incentives, and zoning regulations. So, let's see, where's my last things? It is holiday time. I just want to remind everybody, I know it is tough, but both the meetings that we have the remainder of this month and next month, please, our quorum depends upon you showing up. And if anyone has not filled out the the poll, oh no, we've already decided that we are keeping our December meeting on the scheduled date based on the results of the poll. But please, without a quorum, we cannot conduct business. If we do not have a meeting, we have to call a special meeting. Our unofficial holiday party is on the 9th of December at the Brass Monkey. And I hope to see all of you there. And lastly, I will be sending around a memo. We traditionally collect money for our staff. I'll send you all the details, and that's it. So next is our district manager's report.
So she has her coat on. So before she leaves, we want to say thank you to NYU, and Valentine is here. We're grateful. We're grateful for this beautiful space. And I don't know if the word has gotten around, but thanks to NYU and to the efforts of our chair, Susan Kent and David Gruber, we have this space for the entirety of 2025. So, and I promise I'll learn the tech issues a little better as I go along. We will be in the Sheen Center for December, by the way. But then we come back here for our artist in residency in 2025. So thank you, NYU. In your board package is a look ahead calendar for the entirety of 2025. Obviously, what's going to happen a year from today is going to be a little bit subject to changing events, but please do take a look at it, both to note where your committees are meeting and also any ideas about conflicts that I haven't or we haven't vetted so far. With me, stand up please, is Yosuke. You may be seeing Yosuke from time to time. He's going to be helping us out with some of the tech stuff, and he's a terrific resource. We are grateful for Francine, who is back in the office and is physical therapy is proceeding well. And we still have Fran for a smooth transition. Just a heads up, especially for SLA, but for also other meeting spaces, the basement of St. Anthony's Church that we use from time to time, if you've ever noticed, it's a very sloping and dysfunctional space. So they're going to be tearing it up. They're actually putting it out for bids right now. We have reason to believe that they won't actually put a shovel in the ground until February 23rd because there's an event on the 22nd down there. They have a new kitchen too. But we'll be looking for new venues. We're going to be trying to find venues, especially for SLA.
Did anybody else lose sound?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I lost sound totally.
I think
Oh.
it froze because I don't see their video. They might have had Wi-Fi issues or something.
那你怎么可以补救啊？No sound now. Hmm. 那怎么办啊？没错。
Edward, we're all waiting for them to discover that there's no sound here.
Oh, thank you, tell me, thank you.
You're welcome. I put something in the chat just to let them know, but perhaps they haven't figured out the technical issue yet.
Yeah, I'm anxious. I'm glad, thank you
You're welcome.
for me.
Directly.
Oops, we had him for a moment.
不错的，告诉我现在。
Yes, split second.
Ed, you're gonna have to mute yourself. There's a terrible echo from your microphone. Perhaps you can turn off the second login that you have. You have 2 logins right now, Ed. Yeah, that one you should turn off if it's your phone or whatever.
Yes, okay, turn off second, yes.
Nice.
Turn off. 看到我有2个。Okay, let's turn it off.
Yes, that's good. Now you can mute yourself there.
I sent word directly to Mark, so perhaps that will get through faster than a chat.
Thanks, Chenault.
I'm gonna send a note also to a bunch of the aides that are there. Oh, wait, there's Mark. He's still trying to figure it out.
We can't hear you, Mark.
Mark's not talking. That's probably why.
We hear you. Thanks, Susan.
We could do a Mark impersonation interlude.
It takes too long. Can the folks online hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
All right, we're back up. Thank you. Sorry about
We
that.
are back up. Thank you. Thank you for everyone for your patience. So since before we start business session, we will do another attendance.
Great, thanks all. A few folks have joined on Zoom, so if you can just be ready to let me know that you're here, I'd appreciate that. Awesome. Susanna Aaron. Will Banesh. Keen Berger. Carter Booth. Kato Bordenero. Anita Brandt. Amy Brenna. Rich Cacapolo. Ritu Chatri.
Present.
Thank you. Valerie De La Rosa. Chris Dignas. Arturo Fernandez.
Present.
Thank you. Mar Fitzgerald. She was, okay, I'll catch her when she's in. Stella Fitzgerald. Cormac Flynn. Susan Gammy. David Gruber. Susan Kent.
Here.
Ryder Kessler. Janine Kiley. Ivy Quanars.
Here.
Thank you. Patricia Laria. Janet Liff. Ed Ma.
Here.
Matthew Metzger.
Here.
Erica Olson. Brian Pape. Donna Raftery. Lois Rakoff was
Lois?
just here. Okay, thank you. Bo Riccobono,
Here.
Rocio Sands, Shirley Secunda, Edward Siegel, Frederica Siegel is, I think, online.
No, she's absent.
She had popped on actually for a bit. But, okay, noted. Thank you. Emma Smith, present. Chenault Spence,
Here. Present.
Susan Wittenberg. Here. Eugene Yu.
Here.
Thanks all.
Thank you, Emma. Okay, next, the October full board minutes. Does anyone have any changes to them? Any questions, anything that they need to adjust on those? Otherwise, I will take a motion to approve them.
Susan, I was looking through
And
the
a second.
Susan?
I'm sorry? Yes?
I didn't see any mention of the vote we took on the eye and infirmary center. Did I maybe miss it in the minutes? But I didn't see it in the minutes.
It was the. Are they?
So just so you all can hear me, it's the letter that we took a vote on sending the letter. There are general notes on that, but my understanding is usually that's not included with the resolution. So Mark, keep me honest on that.
If it would be acceptable to the board, we can simply insert the letter.
Okay.
And the votes, please.
Okay.
Okay, we will insert that as an amended version.
Thank you.
Okay, so if there is nothing else, all those of favor to approve the October minutes as amended? Any opposition? Okay, thank you. So now we have our standing committee reports, and we'll start with Human Services.
Good evening, everyone. We have a resolution from our September meeting and one from our October meeting. The September meeting resolution, therefore be it resolved that Community Board 2 Manhattan formally supports the work of the organizations listed here: Red Door Place, The Door, Manhattan Outreach Consortium, and Greenwich House. And number 2, supports compassionate care to New Yorkers in need by providers not listed here. Okay, and then I'd like to move this. Okay, and then our October resolution. Excuse me, expressing support for the innovative approach of intensive mobile treatment and requesting demonstration of its efficacy. Therefore, be it resolved that Community Board 2 Manhattan, number 1, supports DOHMH's efforts to refine IMT so as to serve some of the neediest New Yorkers living with serious mental illness. And 2, looks forward to an evaluation demonstrating the efficacy of IMT in producing better outcomes in terms of incarcerations, hospitalizations, medical treatment, substance use, housing placement, and other indicators of stability, recognizing that the nature of its client population may require non-traditional assessment tools. And 3, would encourage that a cost-benefit analysis be conducted when appropriate to confirm that this innovative model makes good use of city resources. And finally, number 4, appreciates the DOHMH's reluctance to expand the program at this time, but hopes that the needs in CD2 will be deemed a high priority for IMT going forward. Any questions? Yeah, Katie?
Katie?
Oh, maybe you should have a mic.
Here, there you go.
No, I can't hear.
Hello?
Yes.
There you are.
Oh, okay. I was looking at the September resolution, the whereas number 4.
Give me just a moment and let me get there.
Okay.
The whereas number 4, that there are 4,140 people living unsheltered, is that?
In all of New York City, is that?
Yes, the number of unhoused individuals is always an estimate. The only mechanism there is for counting that population is the HOPE project, which is an actual outreach at the end of January. So that's always an estimated number. But yes, that's across the whole city.
Okay, thank you.
It's usually about about 10% of the sheltered population.
Okay. Any other questions? If there's no opposition, we will vote on both of these resolutions together. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is schools.
Hi, everyone. All right, New York State is addressing concerns from educators and employers that school graduates lack critical skills like time management and critical thinking due to overemphasis on standardized tests. The Portrait of a Graduate Plan focuses on skills like problem solving and communication using project-based learning, internships, and flexible assessments while keeping Regents exams as an option. The resolution we wrote last month, is in support of the New York State Education Department's new graduation plan. Therefore, be it resolved. 1, Community Board 2 supports the plan put forth by the New York State Education Department Blue Ribbon Commission on graduation measures to refine and develop graduate metrics that accurately reflect the competencies needed for future success in higher education, careers, and civic life. 2, that New York City Public School be provided with the resources and support necessary to implement this new model effectively, including professional development for educators and expanded access to project-based learning opportunities for students. 3, that NYSED continues to offer Regents exams as an option for students who wish to pursue them, recognizing that these assessments provide a standardized measure of academic achievement and college readiness, while expanding pathways to graduation that accommodate different learning styles and interests, ensuring high standards in how students demonstrate mastery. And our vote was unanimous.
Okay, any discussion of this resolution? Any questions or? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Thank you, Patricia. Next is street activities.
Okay, hello. We had a fairly short meeting this time. I'll go through it quite quickly. Our first application was another Astoria activation. Astor Place Plaza, November 16th. That was unanimous proof. Number 2 was a Thanksgiving. This was an interesting one, and it kind of highlights an issue that we're going to be trying to help solve and address. This was, I think a really good initiative. It was someone essentially just living on this block who wanted to throw this big block party, essentially giving out food and drinks and having a DJ and all kinds of stuff. It was also catered to help with the homeless and unhoused population and to invite them to come have a meal, which was a great initiative. Unfortunately, it was just presented a couple of weeks before with very little planning done. And they weren't aware of all the deadlines that SAPO was required and all the other permits that were required from FDNY and what it would take to have a temporary SLA license to serve alcohol and everything they wanted to do. So we had to deny this one. We are thinking through ways that we can maybe help people. Most of the applications we get are, professionals who run different agencies and marketing firms, whatnot, who know how the process works, or they hire expediters. When you think about just residents, neighbors who want to throw events, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. And block parties will have, multiple months that you have to do that in advance. And there's all kinds of deadlines and things you need to do. And so I think, any way we can help people kind of work through the bureaucracy is probably a good thing. We have started by now uploading the newest SAPO guide to the CB2 website, which goes through all of this. So thank you, Mark, for doing that. But I think we should just make sure as a committee, we serve as a resource for people when we can. It's not an easy process. So anyway, that's the context behind that denial. It's not that we don't like giving and helping people. So that was unanimous. Number 3, coffee truck at the JBL store, November 29th through December 1st, 19 East Houston, unanimous approve. Number 4, Ken Mayer sidewalk permit, December 3rd to 4th, Ken Mayer between Bowery and Elizabeth. that was unanimous approve. Five, December 6th through 7th, there's Airstream Trailer, Gansevoort Plaza. Unanimous approve with one recusal. Number 6, GSO pop-up, Astor Place Plaza, that was unanimous deny for no show. And then the 2 FYI renewals were unanimously approved.
Okay, thank you. And does anyone want to just, yes, Katie, go ahead. And micro, yeah.
Can you hear? Is this good?
Yes.
Yep. In terms of number 2, it's a very interesting proposition. But are there any health considerations? I don't know that I could prepare 100 meals in my home safely. I don't know if I have the refrigeration capacity or the proper heating capacity. So is there any Department of Health
Absolutely.
consideration here? Can you?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah, that was one of the issues that came up in terms of planning as well, was that, yeah, I don't believe that would actually be allowed, cooking all of these inside an apartment and then just bringing the food out.
Okay. Yes, Lois.
Well, they were going to do it inside of his apartment. That was the plan. Yeah, like I said, this is the kind of thing where you need really months and months of planning, and you need to really know what you're doing. We should have been hearing about it, 5 or 6 months ago rather than a few weeks before. Yeah.
Did the event happen? It looks like it was for today.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, someone's online. Yes, Ivy.
So you had said that maybe we're gonna invite SAPO, right? To give us.
Yes, we've invited, yes, they've come before. We've invited them again to come next month, but we're waiting to see if they can confirm. Yeah.
Because also one of the things is that they do require insurance for different events as well, even if it's neighborhood besides the food thing. So I think I don't know how one can bypass that. So, and I think those are requirements.
Yes, you do have to have insurance. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a hard thing to have if you're a nonprofit. Not if you're not a nonprofit, I'm sorry. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone want to discuss any of those resolutions? Seeing none, we've got 1 through 6 and 7 and 8 with the FYIs, which we will vote on together. All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Thanks, Will. I'm sorry. Yes, Donna. Okay. And yes, Erica. Okay, so we have 2 recusals. Thank you. Okay, traffic is next.
The first thing is, can I get this down to my level? Well, I'll hold it. Okay. Second, I'll put on my glasses. We had 2 resolutions unanimously approved by the committee. First resolution requesting an extension of the protected bicycle lane on Varick Street from Hudson Street to Canal Street. Resolved. CB2 requests that the protected bike lane on Varick Street be extended beyond Houston Street to Canal Street. Further resolved, encourages DOT to study the loading along the Varick Street corridor of concern, consult with the Hudson Square bid about loading needs, and ensure that adequate space is created to meet curb demands. Further, urges DOT to install amenities such as planters that help traffic calm and beautify Varick Street. Finally, recommends that DOT thoroughly investigate installation of more southbound bike lanes to meet the ever-growing need to accommodate and safeguard the increasing number of bicyclists using CB2 streets. Unanimous in favor. Okay, a second resolution requesting a stop sign on Christopher Street at Waverly Place and signage change at Christopher Street and 7th South. Be it resolved, CB2 urges the New York City Department of Transportation to install stop signs on Christopher Street in advance of the crosswalk on the eastern side of Christopher at Waverly Place. Further asks that a sign displaying no left turn be installed at the southeast corner of Christopher Street at 7th Avenue South. Further, strongly favors painting arrows in the Christopher Street roadbed from the west side of Waverly Place to 7th Avenue South that point straight ahead or west on Christopher Street. Further, recommends that DOT paint stop on the roadbed approaching the crosswalk on the eastern side of Christopher Street at Waverly Place. And finally, requests that directions to West 4th Street going west from 7th Avenue South and Christopher Street be displayed on Christopher approaching the 7th Avenue South Christopher Street intersection, either by signage on the right hand or north side of Christopher, indicating to West 4th Street with accompanying arrows in that direction, or by painted arrows in the Christopher Street roadbed approaching 7th Avenue South, pointing straight ahead to Christopher in the left-hand or south lane, and forked for straight ahead with a branch a few degrees right for West 4th Street in the right-hand lane, or both.
And that was unanimously in favor. Thank you. Does anyone want to discuss either of those two resolutions? Seeing none, we'll vote on those together. All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Thank you. Next is landmarks.
We have two meetings. The first one to approve a stoop gate installed without approval by the Landmarks Commission. You'll see the note there. It came as an application to install a stoop gate, and we learned at the end of the presentation in inspecting a picture that was purported to be a picture of the stoop with a gate drawn in. There was indeed a picture of a gate that exists. We addressed that sternly in the resolution. And besides which, it was a totally inappropriate and awkward gate for the stoop itself. Denial of the resolution of the existing gate and then a new design respecting the existing delicate ironwork and the unusual standards for gates in the district be presented to a public meeting. The second one, Great Jones Street, replace existing steel and glass stone front with new aluminum glass storefront. Recommend approval of the aluminum glass infill. Denial of the louvers unless they are covered with a decorative grille of historic design and if possible lowered to a bulkhead height. Denial of the modern lighting fixtures, that the existing unobtrusive fixtures remain or replaced by fixtures of historic design. 458 Broadway, to partially replace the sidewalk, perform associated structural work at the vault level. This is an enormous building that actually is on the corner so that the sidewalk area is great. And there is a particular section in question where there was a vault underneath and vault lighting, and it's degraded badly and needs to be totally replaced, including the support. The difficulty is in doing one section of such a big area that eventually needs to be done. And indeed, they have plans to do the entire area eventually. Clearly, it's not urgent in the other places and cosmetic, and it's a financial matter. Denial the application for the clearly needed replacement of the sidewalk section until a sample of the finish that is appropriate for the section of the application and subsequent phases of restoration that a very considerable area of sidewalk and the building be presented for a public review. The application submit a master plan for the eventual work of the entire sidewalk. 70 Prince Street, legalize installation of signage and painting of the facade without LPC permits. There was a permit and it just was ignored. Resolve approval of the black corners, the light green paint in the infill, the halo lettering sign, the flag sign, and removal of the blade sign. Denial of the painted design on the ramp face, the lettering panels below the window, and modern lighting fixtures as decorations that detract from the historic character of the building. 271 11th Street. Remove the rear facade, include new steel doors at basement and ground floor, replace double hung windows at the third and fourth floors and existing window openings, install new painted wood panels in the facade of the extension, and repair and replace brick in the upper floors to match existing. Recommend approval of the restoration and modification of the third and fourth floors, provided the door is a faithful extension of the window that replaces, including the molding, and is equal width to the other windows on the floors. Approval of the basement and parlor floor windows, denial of the second floor windows, and that they be modified to be more in keeping with the horizontal plane of the parlor floor and evenly spaced punched windows spanning the width. Approval of the panel cladding of the extension, denial of the glossy black paint for the large expanse of the panel area, in particular for its obstructing the articulation of the panel cladding. That being another example of the client wanted it. 83 Ratio Street. Excavate the cellar, the rear yard, install a new double height opening at the rear facade, garden and basement level, replace iron gate under the front stoop window and guards the front facade, the street level, install new elevator overrun at the roof level, expand the existing rooftop bulkhead, was withdrawn. In the business session, we discussed the Del Pito Center forum that was held at the very end of September and was not ready to be discussed in the October meeting. And there was indeed nothing that was timely about it. And we have requested, we'll send, this is not a motion, it's a report, a note to the chair that the board should receive the report that's coming from the commission, and that the board itself should organize a forum. The reason being that it's so overlapping and at least 4, maybe other committees are involved, and it needs a holistic view.
Okay, let's address, first of all, we have 5 resolutions. Does anyone want to discuss any of those items? If not, then we will take a vote on them 1 through 5 together. All those in favor? Any opposed? Yes. Okay, Sans opposed to number 1. Any abstentions or recusals? Okay, thank you. Okay, Chanel, now we can go to the second meeting.
Okay. 138 Grand Street to install a ramp was withdrawn. 430 Lafayette Street to install a wheelchair lift at the front of the building. This was one of the most incomplete and worst presentations we've ever had. I won't read the whole, I'll summarize that we were unable to make a judgment because there was so little information, and what we had didn't appear to be very good. And so we recommend that it not be heard until they return. 428 Lafayette Street, install a handicap access lift at the front of the building. Interestingly, this is another of the buildings in the Astor Colonnade. And this one was the best solution could ever be found. There's an existing hatch and they're going to use it for a lift to the lower level, which is part of the restaurant, and that will provide the access. Recommend approval of the application as achieving AD access with minimal impact to the historic building. 58 West 12th Street, revocable consent for stupid stairs and the installation of a gate. This and the next application are ones that came to us earlier for the restoration of a stoop, which is becoming not uncommon with the row houses being converted to one family use. And it requires an accompanying resolution to the Department of Traffic and Transportation for revocable consent for the tiny bit that the stairs intrude into the sidewalk, which almost without exception they do. These two were not part of the original request, and so they've come later. We recommend approval. 228, 230 Mercer Street, again, we approve that the Traffic and Transportation consider the revocable consent. 23 East 9th Street, replace windows, restore front corners, restore front entryway, install front railings, replace cellar hatch, modify roof and bulkhead, extend rear extension, build new rear yard brick fence, and repair and apply mineral coating to the facade. The recommendation to approve the front facade, windows, corners, and entrance modifications. Approve with reservations the white paint represented by the applicant is necessary for preserving the facade. The brick appeared to be in very bad condition and would have been just prohibitive to repair and replace. Approval of the rooftop addition provided that steps are taken to reduce its visibility from a public thoroughfare. Approve the two upper floors of the rear facade and approve of the rear extension provided the windows be heightened to reflect the two-story historic facade. Garden fence was not presented and will be reviewed by commission staff. This is an example of something that's so minor, though it was in the application, that we feel we don't need to hear it again. 244, 246 Waverly Place, application to combine restore facades, construct a recessed roof addition, redesign the previously modified rear elevations. This is two matching buildings that were individual buildings, individual houses, and were combined into an apartment building and are now being converted to a one-family residence using the two buildings as combined. Approve the front facade restoration as a welcome return of the house to a reasonable modification of the historic design. Approve the rear extension and rear facade modifications and the lot line windows reconfiguration. Approve the extensive excavation and underpinning, provide that the Landmarks Commission receive assurance that proper engineering studies have been carried out and that all regulations are observed so that the integrity of the house and adjacent property is not compromised. We have now made a policy that whenever a front stoop and accompanying staircases, that will automatically include a revocable consent approval, because we wouldn't have approved the stairs if we didn't approve their being on the sidewalk. And so it's the same one as number 8. 7 and 8 then are the same property. That's it, Susan.
Thank you, Chanel. Does anyone want to discuss any of those items that is 2 through 8? Okay, seeing none, we'll vote on those together. I'm sorry, somebody say something? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Thank you. Next is cannabis. Yes, I'm sorry? The one that's shadowy? Someone is not visible in the bond. Oh, it's, okay, no, that's Brian, okay. No problem.
I couldn't hear. Was that something for me?
Who is that? Okay. Hold on. But it's not, it's somebody who's already here, otherwise accounted for.
Which one is it? It's Brian.
Okay, if it's identified as Brian, it has to be Brian. Oh, well, it's now gone.
I think there's a sticker over the camera. Oh, who is that? That's not Brian. I mean, you could eject.
Okay, it doesn't really matter. It's a curiosity. So I'm sorry, we voted, all those in favor was to. Okay, any abstentions or recusals on those? No. Okay, thank you, Landmarks. Thank you, Chanel. Next is cannabis.
I like him blue. I don't really need it. We had two applications for adult use retail dispensaries. Originally, we had 3 for a micro business at one of the locations that we did here that withdrew prior to the meeting. The first was Elise Pelka LLC, DBA Flintstone Cannabis Company at 388 West Street. It was denied because there were a lot of discrepancies regarding the ownership of the business. Multiple license numbers were applied with for this one application, different names. The principal owner of the applying business was not present at all. What other issues or concerns around manner of operation, because the person that presented the application, who is not the principal owner, operates another dispensary that is operating in a way that I think we wouldn't want them to operate. Additionally, we received tons of engagement from the community and opposition from the community, particularly from one building very close to the proposed site. They have confirmed that their insurance premiums will go up and consequently their maintenance fees. These are people who have lived in the village for decades and decades and decades and were able to actually buy their units years ago at an affordable price, and were relieved to know they would have, a wonderful place to age in place here in their own neighborhood. And now that is in jeopardy. So that is a really big one for us. Also, they all came out. I mean, they came out, they spoke, they asked thoughtful questions. They submitted tons of written testimony, and some of them were here but couldn't hang out because it was very late, but they wanted to hear about this application. You'll read in the resolution, there's a whole list of concerns that are very valid. The second one was Dazed, 748 LLC, doing business as Dazed at 112 Mulberry Street in the Special Little Italy District. This particular application came to us several times. Well, they didn't come to us several times. They kept giving notice. We believe in an effort to retain proximity protection granted by the state. The problem with that is that it burdens the office because a lot goes into processing these applications the second we get notice. The office has to do tons of work in corresponding with the Office of Cannabis Management, and we have to prepare papers, and we have to do posters, and we have to do a whole bunch of stuff. And then, of course, the committee has to do a ton of research and background and also correspondence. So when somebody withdraws month after month after month, I mean, in 3 months, they did it 5 times. It's a huge burden to all of us. I guess technically, well, we can actually, I've been told by the state that we can ding people for, misusing city resources. So I kind of feel that way about it. But the bigger issue was that it's in the special district. We went and spoke to the restaurateurs and business owners along Mulberry Street. Again, people that had been there forever, including the leaders of San Gennaro, because the principal applicant on this application that also didn't appear at this meeting came previously, said that he intended to do a cannabis grower showcase during San Gennaro Festival. So, yeah. So we spoke with them and they were like, absolutely not. This is not the block for it. But they have yet to submit comment, but they were adamantly against it. And that's about it. Oh, and Dazed. So it's owned by Dazed, which is also 3 of the owners are the owners of Dazed at Union Square, which has been operating possibly, allegedly, contrary to state guidelines and regulations in the events that they've been having. Huge activations on the sidewalk, in Union Square Park. I mean, all over the place, DJs, music, liquor, whole bunch of stuff going on over there that truly would not be suited for Mulberry Street or Union Square, in my opinion, but hey, I'm not Community Board 5. And we voted to deny both of them. That was it.
Thank you, Maura. Okay, we have, yes, Susanna. Please.
Thank you for thorough work on this. And I enjoyed reading them. I had a question about this business about the insurance premiums going up. Isn't that going to happen near any dispensary? And is that a reason to that's not that? I mean, you had plenty of reasons to deny this application, but I can't imagine that would be a reason to deny an application.
It's another reason. It's a concern. So our job is to amplify the voice of the community, and this is what the community is saying. I mean, we have a building with 140 units of mostly older neighbors.
Are there any communities?
Somebody has to be muted online. That's probably Ed, because it's always Ed.
No,
Ed.
Is it not very common for communities to say that they don't want it?
It is not the first, for communities to say that?
Yeah, I mean, like,
no, our community doesn't always say that. I mean, it's a case by, it's just like SLA. If it's a suitable location, it's a suitable location. If it's not, it's not. I mean, another concern is that people are going to take their purchases from this dispensary and literally walk across the street to the park and sit on the Christopher Street Pier and smoke it, which why wouldn't they? I mean, it's right there. So that was like a huge concern as well. I mean, especially with all of the children's programming that happens in the park.
Okay, I just didn't know what the legal guidelines are. Thank you.
But as far as, so I will say that the president of the condo, the 165 Christopher Street condominium, is also an insurance attorney. So he confirmed that in this instance, the premiums were going up. And when he looked at the numbers, that maintenance was going to go up. And, you know, this comes up in our board all the time, affordable housing, right? We have this building that houses hundreds of villagers, longtime villagers that are now in jeopardy of losing their homes, possibly due to the dispensary. I mean, it's real. It's not, you know, so we have to take that into consideration. And, you know, if anything, it deserves further examination, but there are multiple issues, not just the one.
Any other discussion on either of those two resolutions? Okay, seeing none, we'll vote on those together. All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Thank you.
I have to recuse on all, Susan.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, who said that?
It's Matt Metzger.
Oh, Matt. Okay, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
It's because he works right.
And
His employer is. There you go.
Susan, you may just want to note that we specifically finance one of the other locations of one of the applicants.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Correct. Thank you very much. Okay, so next is outdoor dining.
Hello, the Outdoor Dining Working Group met last week. We have 3 resolutions to vote on this month. Resolution number 1 is an application to DOT for a roadway cafe, Talea Beer Inc., DBA Talea Beer at 102 Christopher between Bleecker Street and Bedford in the West Village in the Greenwich Village Historic District. Where, I'm not going to read all the whereas, just the last couple. Whereas the applicant licensee agreed to the proposed modifications for the roadway cafe. I have some corrections that I have made, by the way, and submitted an updated site plan illustrating the proposed modifications dated November 20th, 2024. Whereas the applicant licensee agreed to return to CB2 prior to submitting any changes to any modifications agreed herein. Therefore, be it resolved, Manhattan CB2 recommends submitting comments approval with modifications in parentheses regarding the dining out roadway cafe for, and I've corrected it, Talea Beer Inc., DBA Talea Beer, 102 Christopher Street, 10014. Would you like me to go through the, okay. Resolution number 2, application to DOT for a sidewalk cafe, Upright Holdings, that's 547 LLC, DBA Latau at 547 Hudson Street, between Charles Street and Perry Street in the West Village, located in the Greenwich Village Historic District. The applicant licensee, this one is a little bit of a complicated one, so I'm just going to read some of the quick highlights as to why we made the recommendation we did. The applicant licensee failed to adhere to the rules in the temporary open restaurants program as it relates to compliance with the physical footprint and dimensions for outdoor dining setups. I won't read you can read the long explanation, but the quick summary overview is that this applicant entered into a contract soliciting and exchanging money in exchange for using an extended part of the roadway beyond their frontage, which is illegal in the temporary program. And they continue to operate it past November 1st, 2024. So they are not in compliance with the current program, which is required of any participant right now in the dining out, in any sort of outdoor dining. November 29th is the date when all of the roadway structures have to come down for this season. So anything that's currently up, that's a roadway or sidewalk, is supposed to be compliant with the Dining Out NYC rules. Okay. It should be Mark sent it out. Yeah, it was sent out at. Okay, so I'm going to continue. As I said, they extended beyond the frontage. They've been in this contract illegally since October 26, 2020. And as I mentioned, they continue to do it now. So it's been 4 years that they've been in violation of this. In addition, let me just quickly go. Since June 2020, this establishment has received 82 311 complaints for noise commercial, 20 311 complaints for noise street/sidewalk, 16 311 complaints for noncompliance with phase reopening, and 10 311 complaints for outdoor dining in direct reference to the applicant licensee's outdoor dining setups in the sidewalk and roadway, with the most recent complaint dated November 2nd, 2024. Therefore, be it resolved, Manhattan CB2 recommends denial of the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Upright Holdings 547 LLC, DBA Latau at 547 Hudson, New York, 10014. And the third and final resolution to vote on this evening for outdoor dining is resolution number 3, application to DOT for a sidewalk cafe, I Cook Bowery Inc., DBA San Miwago, 90 Bowery, which is located at the intersection of Bowery Street and Hester Street in Chinatown. Whereas the comments related to the pedestrian flow are as follows, and I will summarize. I'm just calling your attention to that section as it's the most pertinent as to why we're making the recommendation that we did. So this proposed sidewalk cafe is on a regional corridor requiring a 10-foot clear path on the sidewalk that is adjudicated by DOT's Dining Out NYC rules, which is in compliance with the DOT pedestrian mobility plan that categorizes every street. So the applicant presented measurements that were inaccurate, and once the accurate measurements were determined, along with the correct clearances from obstructions that flank both sides of the proposed sidewalk cafe setup, the tree bed on the sidewalk is 1, requiring an 8-foot clearance as it is diagonal from it, and the mailbox on the eastern side, which requires a 8-foot clearance. So it leaves basically 16 inches. Once those are accounted for, along with the 10-foot clear path, it only leaves 16 inches for the width of a sidewalk cafe. And so we have recommended, let me get to that so you can see. Let me just get to the end. Again, I was just calling your attention as to why we made that decision. So therefore be it resolved, Manhattan CB2 recommends denial of the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for I Cook Bowery Inc., DBA San Miwago at 90 Bowery, 10013. So those are the 3 to vote on, and then I have a report. I think we should probably vote on these as I don't want to mix up. There's similar names.
Okay, so those are those 3 resolutions. Does anyone want to discuss any of those? Okay, seeing none, we'll vote on the three together. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Thank you. Abstaining on all 3?
Great. Thank you so much. For our report, we provided the working group's comments in your package for 2 roadway cafe applications that the deadline for those was yesterday. So we have since submitted our comments. They were the CB2 public hearing for those applications was after the October full board meeting, and the deadline, as you know, for roadway cafe applications is 30 days. So we've submitted those comments again per the resolution that we voted on, allowing the working group to do that when time is of the essence. So there's San Miwago at 90 Bowery, so you can see our comments there, as well as Sweet Green on University Place. So I don't know if there's any questions on those or the process there. And then to finish out my report, to finish out the report for the working group, we are finally starting to see an uptick in applications. We received 7 Dining Out NYC application referrals this week, and we will be holding a hearing for 10 Dining Out NYC applications on Tuesday, November 26th. So we've added that meeting to the calendar as we are trying to go through these efficiently. So also a quick report, CB2 has 536 pending Dining Out NYC applications. We've reviewed 20 of those applications to date. So that's pending. That means we haven't reviewed them yet. And then we have 20 that we have reviewed to date since May. So that's so of the 536, we have 10 of those next week. So there's a total of 556 dining out NYC applications in CB2. 44% of those are roadway and 56% are sidewalk cafes. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Valerie. So next is SLA. To bring it home. Oh, I'm so sorry, Katie.
Thank you. So Valerie, when you say you have all those applications pending, what is the time frame on responding to them? It seems quite daunting.
Well, thank you for the question. That's what we are all wondering. We do not have, none of the 59 community boards have access to the Dining Out NYC portal, so we can't see at what stage each of those applications is in the queue. So, like I said, the 7 we've received, the 7 referrals we received from DOT this week is the most we've received at one time. So again, that's why we are continuing to just, as we get them, we are reviewing them, and then we are having the public hearing. So we're not holding, even though for ones received this week, if it was a sidewalk cafe, December 28th, and we're just going to process them. We have the hearing on those next week, and then we'll submit our those will go to full board in December, but the roadway ones unfortunately are going to be before our full board meeting. So thanks. And thank you to the committee. They are the ones that are putting in a lot of the time and hard work. So thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Donna,
Go ahead.
you're all right.
Okay, SLA 1, we met on Wednesday, November 6th due to Election Day. So we had 10 applications for resolutions. The first one, and all the votes were unanimous. Yakanuko Fatuko Soho LLC, doing business is to be determined at 341 West Broadway. This is a restaurant wine application, deny unless with stipulations being adhered to, unanimous. Tulum LLC at 183 Grand Street. This is a tavern wine, and this was a denial, unanimous. EWS 90 West Inc., 90 West Houston Street in the cellar, the lower level there. That's an on-premise for a bar tavern, and that was deny, unanimous. And then ER Hot Pot 8 Street Inc., doing business as, and I need to correct the resolution, doing business as Grandpa Todd, formerly known as 6 Hot Pot 15 East 8th Street, also known as East 9th Street. That's a restaurant wine, previously unlicensed location, deny unless with stipulations being adhered to, and items 5 through 10 are layovers or withdrawals.
Any questions or discussions of any of those 4 resolutions? Okay, we'll take those together. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Okay, thank you.
And then
Uh-oh, I think they froze again.
没有啊？没有。那怎么没有啊？没有啊，这个人还在。
No, Valerie, we cannot.
哦，
They're aware and just ask us if we could hear, which we can.
哇，这个人长得也好老啊。哦，哦，对对，小英。
I see some movement on one of the videos, but I can't hear him. Yep.
Yes.
You can hear us
you can
now.
hear. Okay. good.
Okay, I got a thumbs
Okay.
up. All right.
All right, so where were we? Should I just start with SLA? Oh, two
Two.
again?
Yes,
Okay.
start with
so-
two.
Okay, so all the votes were unanimous, 6 applications, 4 resolutions. First one, Selena and Hamera doing business as REI, 142 Sullivan Street. Restaurant wine, denial unless with stipulations being adhered to, unanimous. 169 Thompson Street doing business as the Clan Bar, 169 Thompson Street on premise for restaurant, tiny restaurant. Denial unless with stipulations being adhered to, unanimous. Petrosian Boutique doing business as Petrosian Caviar. NYC 419 West 13th Street. This is an on-premise for a bottle club. This is not, I just want to say it's a bottle club license, which is different from a members club thing. So just for clarity there. Denial unless with stipulations being adhered to, unanimous. And Pyramid Effect LLC doing business as Fellini at 176 7th Avenue South. They have a restaurant wine license, and this was an alteration to move a customer bar. Deny, and that decision was unanimous. And then items 5 and 6 were layovers and withdrawals. One was a layover, one was a withdrawal. So,
Anyone want to discuss any of those items or call them out? Okay, this is our last vote, so it will be a roll call vote. It's
Okay.
1 through 4, and we're voting on 1 through 4 and the 5 and 6 layovers, no show.
Sounds good. Thanks, Susan. Okay, Susanna Aaron. William Benesh. Keen Berger. Carter Booth. Katie Bordenaro.
Yeah.
Anita Brandt.
Yes, I'm here.
Amy Brenna. Rich Kakapolo. Ritu Chatri.
Yes.
Valerie De La Rosa. Chris Dignas.
Yes.
Arturo Fernandez.
Hi.
Mara Fitzgerald. Stella Fitzgerald. Cormac Flynn.
Yes.
Susan Gammy.
Yes.
David Gruber.
Yes.
Susan Kent.
Yes.
Ryder Kessler. Janine Kiley. Ivy Quanars.
Yes.
Perfect. Sorry, team, lost my place. Tricia Laria. Janet Liff. Ed Ma.
Yes.
Matthew Metzger.
Yes.
Erica Olson. Brian Pape. Donna Raftery. Lois Rakoff. Bo Riccobono.
Here. Yes.
That a yes?
Rocio
Yes,
Sands.
yes.
Thanks, Bo. Rocio Sands. Thank you. Shirley Segunda. Edward Siegel. Frederica Siegel.
Yes.
Emma Smith, yes. Schnault Spence.
Yes.
Susan Wittenberg.
Yes.
Eugene Yu.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Is there any new business? If not, I will take a motion to adjourn. I think that's unanimous. Thank you very much and have a great Thanksgiving, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
That was so quick, team.